What is up, everyone? So, it looks like season 32 is over. Yeah, crazy season, honestly. So, I'll just wait a little bit. I do want to do this world chain raid real quick. I did find out that the million has been completed. The world chain raids have been completed, so I don't know if the mystery gift is available right now. Let's see. Let's check real quick. Mystery gift. I don't know. Get via internet. Okay, so it's not there. So I think we have to wait until the date passes, like the August 8th, I think, or August 3rd, something like that, until we can actually get it. But for now, I'd recommend doing the raids, you know, because you can get the grass terror shards very easily. Like I think you get 60 per raid, if I'm not. I mean, based on what I've been doing. So I'm gonna do one of these real quick, and then kind of talk about the season, because yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I did not have the bandwidth to play the final day. I only played it out. I was only able to play an hour, so I wasn't able to, you know, grind to the top, unfortunately. But you know, I did have some top level experience, so I think that's always really good. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'll definitely talk about that soon. But yeah, I'm using the Switch 1, by the way. I'm not using Switch 2, so my loading times aren't going to be, you know, low. I don't plan on getting a Switch 2 until closer to October when Legend ZA comes out, so just so y'all know where I'm at with that, like, I don't plan on doing that. But honestly, there's a possibility that I can just get, because Legend ZA can be played on the Switch as well, so yeah, it might just be better to save. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, we're chilling here. Just yeah, this strategy of taking out the world chain is really good. I think I can do a similar thing for Qian Pao as well. Just because the Ice Terra, like the Qian Pao raid is ice, so I can just spam Acid Spray kind of like this, and then spam the Fiery Dance. Or actually, I mean, could get Flamethrower instead of Fiery Dance, just for, you know, consistent higher power, but yeah, you do get the boost pretty much consistently, so you do what you want, but I like Fire Dance here. I don't want this song. But yeah. Yeah, I did see like that Regulation J had mythicals allowed, but I did not see like the specifics, so I'll dive into that after this. We'll just kind of break it down and kind of talk about implications and talk about potential threats, right? That's always the biggest thing. What is going to be threats, right? Because, like, in order to understand a metagame, I feel like the first step, you know, besides basic Pokemon knowledge, is what are the threats, right? So kind of breaking that down is very important. But, jeez, okay. I mean, it's not gonna, like, he's thinking he can win, right? The Voltron is very aggressive. Leaf Storm. I mean, honestly, in the second move slot, I could just put like overheat just to kind of remove it. Like I can just use overheat instead of sludge wave, but just to like remove it faster. But yeah, I don't think it's really. I mean, it's just easy, so it doesn't really matter. But maybe if the POW gets too difficult, I can do that. Because yeah, Terrifier overheat is no joke for sure. But if it doesn't kill, you're gonna have to get your special attack back. And maybe I'll think about, because I don't know. Yeah, like I said, uh, if the POW is gonna be faster than my Moth. But yeah. But yeah, I'll do this raid and then kind of talk about it. Yeah, this next one should kill. Yeah, so you can't catch it yet, obviously, because we still, like, we have to wait for the, until August 3rd to actually be able to catch it. But these rewards are really good, so I recommend, you know, doing this. I made a video kind of showing my, breaking down the strategy even more, but it's really easy. Just put a clear amulet to prevent Snarl special defense, or the Snarl special attack drops, and then just run that moveset. But yeah, let's take a look at the news. So if we look at the news, right? So regulation set J, right? So as you can see on the, you know, the art, you know, you see Arceus, Meloetta, Keldeo, Petrarut. I have no idea how Petrarut is gonna function, but it's gonna be really good to know. So yeah, this obviously, you know, they have the. I really I'm not a big fan of 4-month regulations. I don't like 4-month long regulations, just because like from what I've, you know, been experiencing in Scarlet and Violet, a metagame takes 2 months to fully develop, pretty much. After that, it just kind of becomes flavor of the month, like pretty much. So we kind of saw that with this regulation already with Regulation I. The first 2 months was kind of just, you know, a lot of experimentation, and then like the you know, this month that just happened, the season 32 that just finished, it was kind of just flavor of the month stuff. Like Koraidon was being I feel like Koraidon was just kind of overused. Like it's good, but it's not like overblown. It's not as good as the usage warrants, right? But that's mainly because of the first place player from the previous season used Koraidon and Lunala, so that just kind of makes a lot of players just want to follow suit. No, I mean, I can't really blame them. It's just, you know, how it works. But after 2 months, a metagame tends to follow the flavor of the month scheme. So that's why I don't like 4-month long regulations. But that's just my opinion. Because at the end of the day, nothing major is going to change. It's just, you know, the core metagame is going to be the same. But you will just get flavor of the month, you know. So, yeah. Looks like we can use... So let's take a look at the... so yeah, Galarian, you know, Pokemon. So, yeah, let's just take a look at the eligible Pokemon here. Let's just make sure we know kind of what's, you know, going on here. Right. So let's see. I think nothing out of the ordinary, right? I don't know what was banned here. Yeah, so the ruins are allowed. That kind of sucks. I really don't like the ruins. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it just kind of, it's my opinion. I don't really like the ruins that much in competitive, but it's fine. We have to deal with them. But so it pretty much looks like everything is, remains in the regulation except for the addition of mythicals. Um, so where are those, right? Petrarant, right? Petrarant, Poison, and Ghost, I believe. Not really. I don't remember the typing. It's Poison. I don't know. I haven't used it or looked at it, analyzed it competitively. Diancie is allowed. Hoopa forms to both Hoopas. Volcanion will be allowed. What else? Komala. Don't think Komala will be that. I mean, actually, no. I think Komala was already allowed. It's not really a mythical, right? Oh, Magearna. Magearna's allowed. That's gonna shake things up a lot. Because Steal the Fairy is really good, right? That's really good, So this will be used a lot. I don't know how much it will be used, and I don't know what the limit is for mythicals and restricteds in this regulation. I'll have to take a look at that after. But Magearna is going to shake things up for sure. That Pokemon is really good. So yeah, and then let's take a look. So Generation 5, yeah. So Meloetta isn't the best Pokemon competitively. Keldeo is really good though, but with power creep, Keldeo might fall a little bit under the, it might not perform as well as it did in previous generations, just because, it's kind of, I'm gonna turn this music down, but yeah, it might not perform as well just because of the power creep. But it's still a threat. Like, Water and Fighting is really good. Urshifu obviously has that typing. So, yeah, it's just good offensively. And then for Generation 4, we have Arceus, right? Arceus is a huge threat. That's going to be so meta, right? I mean, that's, like, insane, right? Like, you have that. Like, you just have extreme speed. You have all the Arceus forms. I'm assuming all the Arceus forms will be allowed, Shaman Sky, right? That's a huge, addition to the metagame. Because a lot of people are relying on Tinglu plus Dondozo to tank all these legendary hits. It's, it's a default option for many players. And so when you have this Pokemon allowed, those two aren't going to be that easy to use anymore. Like, you have to actually think now. Like, Tinglu actually has to think. Wow, right? Tinglu has, like, been, currently, and still, Tinglu never has to think anymore because it's too tanky. It can do whatever it wants. But now with this on the table, you actually have to think now. And then, Darkrai, right? So, I don't know how good this will be. That will have to require some testing. Just because I don't know how it will stack up against the new Pokemon right now. So yeah, Manaphy, obviously, it gets Tail Glow with its setup, right? So we might see some Baton Pass, chains, or, some setups with that. But yeah, and then for Generation 3, we have Jirachi and Deoxys, right? So Jirachi is kind of an interesting one just because first of all, the typing is really good. Psychic and Steel is really good. Let me look this thing up, right? So Jirachi, right? Serene Grace. Yeah, I get Serene Grace. That's right. So its ability is Serene Grace, which means Iron Head will flinch more. Other moves will have their effects increased, right? So very interesting. Very interesting. And then you have Deoxys, right? So that's gonna be interesting. Because, yeah, you have normal Deoxys, which is okay, right? But the main, you got the forms. The attack form, defense form, speed form, right? What's up? I'm just kind of going over Regulation I with the addition of Mythicals, right? So I'm just kind of going over what the implications are. Yeah. But, yeah, in terms of Deoxys, these forms are going to shake things up just because they're going to introduce a lot new styles of play to the table, right? So we kind of... Like, in the current regulation, like, everything's just kind of recycled. There's no new groundbreaking things anymore. And so, yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to kind of see where this goes, right? And obviously Mew from Generation 1. Mew having access to pretty much every move in the game means, meaning it can be run in any way at once. However, like with the, power creep, we'll have to see how this Pokemon stacks up. So yeah, it was announced just, a few hours ago, right? Really interesting. It kind of blew me away. Like, I did not expect that at all. So yeah, Regulation Set J, no more than 2 restricted Pokemon, right? So we have 2. So basically what this means is that the pool of restricted Pokemon has opened up to include the current restricted Pokemon as well as the mythicals, right? So we're basically gonna see more combinations, right? Now in terms of the standard right now, right? So you see Koraidon plus Calyrex Shadow and Koraidon plus Lunala the most, right? Those are like the default. That was pretty much the flavor of the month of July, right? So, hello, how's it going? So now with this pool opened up, we're gonna see more, potential counterplay to these standard stuff. However, we'll have to see how this stacks up. Now, like I said, the initial takeaway, Shaman Sky is going to pressure, Tinglu Dondozo, right? Because Tinglu Dondozo is pretty much the easiest core to use in the game, and it's very safe. So now that Shaman Sky is in the game, they have to think. They actually have to think about what they're doing. They can't just, cycle over and over and spam Yawn and Fissure, right? So, like, Shaman is going to threaten that super hard, right? Because 1, you're immune to Fissure, and then 2, you threaten a 1-hit KO. Like, Seed Flare from Shaman Sky pretty much threatens 1-hit KOs, right? So if we go to Shaman Sky, I haven't done any calculations. I know it 1-hit KOs Dondozo, like 100%, right? But Tinglu, yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on the Assault Vest variant, because, yeah, the Skyform has 120 special attack, right? So it's not the brightest, especially with the power creep and tankiness, right? Yeah, I mean, lower power format would be nice, honestly. That's what I was kind of hoping for, but with Regulation 8 out of the way, or Regulation H out of the way, I didn't think they were going to kind of do that again. I thought they were going to just move on to higher power, like, but yeah. Let me kind of go to this song. But yeah. So, yeah, Shaman Sky is going to put a lot of pressure on just, the easy stuff, so players will have to think more. And Sea Flare, it's a good move, 120 base power, 85%, accuracy, right? So that's going to be a little hard to use, but I think it is worth it, in my opinion. Just to pressure those 1-hit KOs. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty insane, right? Whimsicott, yeah, unfortunate, because it gets Prankster, but, like, because of all the Tinglu running around and other stuff, like, it just kind of faded away. But yeah, we're going to see how the Shamans affect the Tinglu Dondozo core, because that's pretty much been a thing for the past 2 years now. That's pretty much been a thing for the past 2 years, right? So, yeah, it's an easy solution, in my opinion. Now, Dondozo does get Avalanche, but yeah, like, a lot of Dondozos right now don't do that, so yeah. Yeah, I did see that in-person VGC events will be Regulation H. I don't know how Regulation H is balanced for VGC, but I really did like Regulation H singles. That was definitely a really good, fun format for me. But yeah, what else in here? We have, yeah, Arceus. I already talked about Arceus, right? The different forms. That's going to be insane. Like, I don't even know how that's going to affect it. It will affect a lot of things, right? So that's going to be insane. Yeah, and then, yeah, like you said with the Magearna, Steel and Fairy is broken. So that's going to shake things up for sure. So let me look up Magearna's stats, right? So, yeah, we take a look, right? Yeah, Steel and Fairy, 130 special attack, 115 on both defenses, which is huge. Because, yeah, it's just really good at tanking stuff and then retaliating back with, high damage. gets Volt Switch, so it can, you know, pivot. So like maybe Assault Vest can be really good, right? So yeah, you know, it gets a lot of options, right? A lot of special attack, Flare Cannon, really strong. It's like a Draco Meteor for, you know, it's like a Draco Meteor but Fairy type, right? So this thing could run. Specs can probably be really good, like under Trick Room or something, right? So yeah. What else? It gets Encore. Vegeta gets Encore, right? That's huge. So it can potentially break down defensive Pokemon. Encore is a huge thing. As I discussed in a previous video, Encore is the best, you know, move in the game right now, just because it could just, you know, turn a match on its head just like that, just in one turn. Encore, boom. And then I don't know if it gets Pain Split, which is okay. I don't know if it's gonna use that much, but it gets Trick Room, right? Trick Room with Encore is a very interesting combination. Oh, it does get Iron Defense. Okay, so it gets Iron Defense. I don't know. There's a car making noises outside. I'm sorry, but yeah. Let's see. It gets Iron Defense, but it doesn't get Body Press. Yeah, Swords Advance Extreme Speed, so you need a Ghost type. That's pretty much the takeaway there. Yeah, so Thunder Wave. Oh yeah, Magearna gets Thunder Wave, so it can, you know, disrupt things. But like, yeah, I'm looking at the, you know, learned set. The only setup move it gets are Shift Gear, which we kind of knew from the previous generations, and Iron Defense. So Shift Gear is a very strong setup option, because it increases your attacks stat by 1 stage, but that doesn't really matter for Magearna too much because it doesn't really use its attack stat that much. But it increases your speed by 2 stages, right? So basically doubling your speed, right? So that's really big, right? So when you have a Steel and Fairy type with +2 speed at a high special attack stat, that's going to be really, you know, really strong, right? Especially after hazards are, you know, set up. Shift Gear, you can, you know, you can run. I mean, honestly, you can run physical or special at that point. Like your attack and special attack at that point are kind of, you know, the same, I guess, after a Shift Gear. Excuse me. So yeah, this thing has a lot of options. And Petra, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, you know, I caught the Petra during the event, or during, you know, that little, you know, Mocha event thing. Where is my Petra runs? Right here, right? So Poison and Ghost, right? So ability Poison Puppeteer. Pokemon poisoned by Petra's moves will also be confused. So that's not really fun to know, because that introduces another layer of luck, which kind of sucks. But yeah, it's, you know, this Pokemon will probably be very prevalent on stall builds. Let me take a look at its base stats again. Yeah, so it has 88 in each stat except for defense, which is 160. So it has a lot of defense, as you can see by this kind of chart here. You know, looking at the defense being higher than all the other stats. So, like, that's going to be very, you know, a huge threat. Oops, I am very sorry. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it gets Toxic. Toxic is really good. You know, as a poison type, you get 100% accurate Toxic. It can also be played offensively. You know, it doesn't have the best offensive stats, but it gets Destiny Bond, so it can kind of cheese out an opponent. It gets, you know, Toxic, you know, Ghost Stabs like Shadow Ball and Poltergeist, because its attack and special attack are the same, so you can use whatever in terms of offense. Malignant Chain is its special signature move, right? So let's take a look at Malignant Chain, right? Okay, so the user pours toxins into the target by wrapping them in a toxic corrosive chain. This may also leave the target badly poisoned. So it's a, you know, 100 base power attack. It's like an IV cudgel, right? But it has a, you know, I'm assuming it's a 30% chance, which to leave a toxic poison on the opponent. That's insane. That is power creep and a half right there. It gets stored power. Yeah, it does. That is correct. Or wait, does it? I don't see it on this move list. On Petra. Unless we were talking about something else. Oh, Magearna. Stored power? Yeah. Yeah, that's a threat for sure. Does it? I'm not seeing it. Oh, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, I see it. Yeah. So yeah, if you get all those shift gear boosts, if you baton pass to it and then it shift gears, that's gonna be a huge, threat, especially if it has a covert cloak, kind of blocking out, cheese options like Sacred Fire and Salt Cure and other things. And yeah, that's gonna be a threat. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, that's gonna honestly, I don't think. Well, I think the Shaman Sky is like right off the bat, kind of the first thing I thought of will change, the current situation with the meta right now, because like there's just so much bulk. Like basically the meta right now is, two powerful legendary Pokemon, and then they're surrounded by walls, and it's really difficult to kind of break these teams down, right? So I think, having a straightforward option like Shaman Sky is really good. But yeah, now I'm gonna get into the previous season. So let's check the results, right? So again, I did not have the bandwidth to play most of the today. I only played an hour today, and then yesterday I could not play at all. So yeah, I got 527th place. I'm honestly, with all the circumstances I had to deal with, I'm honestly really happy with this. And obviously the team I used was really fun. I really, I really enjoyed the team that I used, because it allowed me to explore different options that I never used before. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of go over it real quick, right? So some of you guys may have seen this on the previous stream I did. I also made a couple videos on it. But this is the team I used for season 32. So Miraidon plus Ho-Oh core. That's the concept. And basically I built the team around Banded Ho-Oh, right? So Choice Band Ho-Oh, it's a bulky Choice Band set. Has max HP, a lot of attack investment, some speed. So yeah, it's really good. And that's basically what I built the team around, right? So the reason why I wanted to start a team with that is just because I was considering the top legendary Pokemon, right? So currently the top legendary Pokemon are Koraidon, Miraidon, and Calyrex Shadow, right? And I want a lead that can deal with those options, because I feel like in this metagame, if you get a really bad lead, then it's really bad. It's really hard to come back, right? Getting an early advantage is really important in this metagame, right? So I think, starting off with Banded Ho is really important for me, because against Koraidon, I don't have to, because, Brave Bird, like a Banded Brave Bird, kind of threatens a non-Terra Koraidon and a Terra Koraidon. If Koraidon goes Swords Dance with Terra Fire, Brave Bird is still going to punish it, pretty much bring it down to the red zone of HP. And which then allows Permeator to just come in and pick it off with a Rocky Helmet, and things like that. So that's kind of the concept. And the Sacred Fire really threatens Calyrex Shadow really well. The Sash set can get if it gets burned, it dies in one turn to Sacred Fire. Earthquake with Terra Ground is meant to deal with Miraidon and remove it immediately, because I don't want a Miraidon volt switching around. It's really hard to deal with a Miraidon that volt switches around like that, kind of plays around. So just removing it immediately is kind of what I wanted to do with Ho-Oh. So that's pretty much what I started off with, the Banded Ho-Oh. And then looking at the other legendaries, besides, the 3 standard ones, Kyogre is the biggest roadblock for this Ho-Oh. So then I prepared the Assault Vest Miraidon, right? So the Assault Vest Miraidon is there to obviously, take those, water spouts, those water options, the thunder waves from Kyogre as well. So I think these two legendaries kind of block out a lot of the thunder wave nonsense that's been going on in this metagame. Because from my experience, the leads have been either just high damage from a legendary or a status lead like Thunderwave Flutterbane or something. So like having options that can deal with both is really important, and so that's why I prioritize Ho and Miraidon here. Electric Terra Miraidon with, you know, Assault Vest just increases the damage output neutrally. Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, but it increases the damage output of Electro Drift, just kind of, and also removes the dragon weaknesses like Ice and Fairy as well. So yeah, Draco Meteor is really good. Mirror Coat plays into the compatibility with other, you know, team members. I'll show the application of Mirror Coat in a future video, and just the Assault Vest Miraidon in general. Just because U-turn, and also U-turn, right? So as I said, there's a lot of Tinglu and Dondozo cores in the meta right now. It's very easy to use them both together just because they cover each other way too well in terms of typing synergy and physical and special bulk. Yeah, you know, good job with that. That's really impressive. Like, keep going, right? So, you know, like, really impressive stuff, David. Good job. Because yeah, this metagame is very difficult, right? So, like, yeah, do the best. Doing the best you can is really what counts, right? But in terms of the U-turn, it pressures the Tinglus, right? So if Tinglu comes in on a Draco Meteor, I can just U-turn out right after, and my Miraidon is safe. So I think that's kind of the concept I was going for. And also, Iron Treads is a little, you know, Iron Treads is a little bit of a problematic matchup. Just because, you know, it threatens, like, especially since a lot of them are running Stone Edge now with, you know, Choice Band, or just rock options, it, you know, threatens Ho-Oh a lot. So that was the problem, and that's why I decided to run U-turn, just to gain more momentum in general. So yeah. So that's the breakdown of the two legendaries, right? So now I'm going to go into Chien-Pao and Primarina, right? So those are the two kind of slots I came up with after, because obviously the prevalence of Koraidon, you know, has been shaking up the meta. Like I said, Koraidon is you know, it won the previous season, so it kind of became the flavor of the month, and so I kind of wanted to counter the flavor of the month stuff by using Primarina and Chien-Pao, right? So Primarina has a good defensive typing versus Koraidon, and it's very versatile. I don't like using Dondozo to deal with Koraidon just because it's not versatile enough. And also I'm running a Miraidon, so Dondozo's Yawns won't work against, like if the opponent is grounded, Dondozo's Yawns won't work in electric terrain, so it has negative synergy with the team, so I didn't want to run Dondozo. So I decided to run Primarina, you know, full HP, full defense, and bold nature, right? Which, you know, lives that banded Terrifier Flare Blitz from Koraidon. It's kind of crazy how strong that option is, but it's strong, so. And the normal Terra to fight against, you know, Koraidon plus Calyrex, Koraidon plus Lunala. But yeah, that's kind of the concept there. I ran a similar Primarina set in Regulation H, however, it was Terra Poison. But I also ran the Citrus Berry, and then... But in this regulation, I switched to Rocky Helmet to, you know, really put the Koraidon, you know, chip that Koraidon down, along with that Flare Blitz recoil, putting it into the Sucker Punch range of Chien-Pao. So it kind of gives me some reliability there. Regardless of whether Koraidon terrors or not, I can just press Boom Blast whenever I want, and then Koraidon is forced to, yeah, respect that, right? And then once it terrors, it's, you know, Sucker Punch opens up. So, and with the Chien-Pao taunt is obviously, you know, a new thing that I've been kind of experimenting with, right? So with taunt, you can actually, you know, mess with the Leech Seed Calyrex Ice, right? That thing is very annoying to deal with, because, like, a lot of Calyrex Ice kind of rely on Chien-Pao to not have a dark type besides Sucker Punch, right? Some Pows don't run Crunch. A lot of Pows actually do not run Crunch. So Taunt is kind of a way to, you know, guarantee that Sucker Punch works against that Pokemon. It also just blocks out Leech Seeds and stuff. It also blocks out Trick Room setups as well. You know, with Calyrex Ice, Mimikyu, Necrozma Dust Mane is another big one. So that's a, you know, I actually like we're able to pick up a few wins with that. And also Terra Ghost. So you know, that used to be a very common option back in Regulation C, Regulation D on Qian Pao because Dragonite was so common. Dragonite has, you know, dropped off a lot in Regulation I just because of the power levels. However, I do not have a Ghost type on this team, so Extreme Speed from a Banded Dragonite is still very threatening, right? So, and also Rayquaza is existing as well, so I kind of threw the Ghost Terror on to kind of throw some of those things setups off. And I actually, picked up a few games because Rayquaza tried to Extreme Speed, and then Dragonite tried to Terra Normal Banded Extreme Speed, so the Terra Ghost actually really helped because it's actually not that common anymore, so I was able to catch people off guard, right? So yeah. And then this POW is, you know, the fastest POW, so Jolly Nature Max Speed, which is really good at the POW Mirror as well. Sacred Sword and Sucker Punch, you know, take out the opposing POW very easily. So yeah, that's the concept, and then Icicle Crash obviously for, you know, the scare factor, right? Because it's really easy to throw out that move, even when you're forcing a Terra, because it can just flinch them. So, you know, in ranked battles, you have to take calculated risks. Like, for example, like Pal could just run Ice Spinner just to make it easier, but Icicle Crash is a calculated risk because you can miss, but you have a very high reward. So that's kind of it. So yeah. And then going into the next two complementary slots, which are Scizor and Ursaluna. These are complementary Pokemon that are selected in more unique situations, but they're really good when they are able to be selected, right? So Scizor, you know, originally this was the core of the team, Scizor plus Ho-Oh, because Scizor, you know, is able to, you know, cushion Qian Pao's hits. It's able to cushion Zacian's hits, and then set up a Tailwind for Ho-Oh to, you know, come out after. And then just kind of one-hit KO those Pokemon. So, yeah, that's kind of the concept. And then Defog removes Stealth Rock and screens for Ho-Oh to function better. And then U-Turn, obviously, to, you know, get the momentum going, right? Because Bullet Punch and U-Turn are I think that's pretty much all I want on this set. Like, I don't really need Knockoff or anything like that. I think these two moves are very, you know, sufficient. So I kind of just wanted to run support moves like Tailwind and Defog to, you know, kind of bring out some unique options, right? To kind of open up my options. And yeah, the Scizor is adamant, but it's max HP and defense, right? And Noble Terra, you know, because Astral Barrage is very strong, and I don't have, you know, I need that to, you know, block it out, pretty much. So yeah, that's the concept, right? So Miraidon plus Scizor plus Ho-Oh is a really fun combination. Just because it's very flexible. It has been very flexible for me. Even against opposing Ting-Lus, Scizor is very, you know, good at controlling the hazards and threatening it with a strong U-turn and things like that. And yeah, it's just really fun. And the thing about Miraidon and Ho-Oh is that it's really good against, you know, all these leads, but the only leads that kind of struggles with is Qian Pao, right? So Qian Pao is a very, you know, difficult lead to deal with. However, with, you know, the remaining 4 slots, I was able to kind of pressure Qian Pao leads better. Because I have my own Qian Pao, which is the fastest Qian Pao with Jolly Nature. I have Primarina, Scizor, and Ursaluna. Now, the thing about that is, like, Qian Pao could just go electric. Which, yeah, that's a problem, but in this metagame, a lot of players just allocate their Terra to the Legendary a lot of the times. It's really... unless the Qian Pao is like Life Orb with Terra Electric, then they're not going to, you know, use that. Like, they're not going to Terra on that. And yeah, that's basically kind of the concept of this, right? So let me change this theme here. So yeah, that's the concept with that. And then Ursaluna, because the reason why I wanted to use this Ursaluna build is just because of the Garg. So Garg has been kind of increasing a lot, especially because, again, it was on the winning team for the previous season, and so I wanted, you know, a switch into that, especially since I'm using Ho-Oh as the core. So if I'm locked into a Sacred Fire or Brave Bird, again, like let's say they lead a Legendary, right, like Koraidon, they switch into the Garg, right? So now I'm locked into Brave Bird. So I need a, you know, I need an option to switch it as Talk here because I'm locked in. So like that's where I decided to implement this. And the moveset might seem kind of weird because it doesn't have Earth power, but kind of the concept behind that is it, from recent discovery, like just kind of from experience, the Ho-Oh plus Guard Core has been really frustrating to deal with. So that kind of, you know, that's the reason why I didn't have Earth power. I had Hyper Voice just to because if once the Guard protects on my Earth power, like it or protects, it's just really annoying like having to deal with protect on Ho-Oh and Garg at the same time, because if Ho-Oh protects my Blood Moon, then I don't have an option if I have Earth power. So that's where Hyper Voice comes in. So it's just consistent hit options here, because obviously Mind's Eye doesn't, you know, you don't have an immunity with those. So, and then Calm Mind and Moonlight, they're just really good at setting up while being tanky. So it's also really good against Eternatus, especially with the Poison Terra kind of blocking out Toxic, you know, Gliscor. So that's another thing. So Gliscor, like the two restricted legendaries I'm using don't really like facing Gliscor, so I want my you know, other Pokemon to be able to pressure that. And I think I did a really good job of building in that way. So yeah, because obviously, you know, when Ursulina and Poison Terras, it opens up to Earthquake, but Earthquake, since its bear is bulky, like it doesn't really matter. Earthquake from a Gliscor doesn't do that much, like less than half pretty much, as a super effective stab move. So that's just really good. So you're able to, you know, switch on Garg and then threaten Blood Moon on a switch, because when you know, like a lot of the time Garg is, you know, paired with other tanks. Not always, but you know, it's a very common thing that, you know, I've been seeing. So yeah, Calm Mind plus Moonlight just allows you to set up while being tanky and then breaking the cycle eventually. And I'll put out a video kind of showing this thing in action. It does look weird kind of seeing the set, but I promise you it's very strong, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the team that I use. Again, my result was, you know, 500 place, which I think is really good for not having that much time to play. But yeah, that's pretty much the team I use. I will, you know, try to use it more in this season as well than the next season, which is the last season of Regulation I. I don't really feel like I don't really want to build anything new, because like I said, after the first 2 months of a regulation, it just becomes flavor of the month. So I don't really want to build, like, nothing's really going to change overall. It's just, you know, people favoring certain things. So, but yeah, I think, yeah, I honestly did not like this. I do not like this regulation still, honestly. Like, from an overall standpoint, it's, you know, a very fraudulent metagame. However, like, I just kind of took that and like kind of wanted to build my own spin on what I think would be good, and so yeah, I came up with that. So yeah, if you guys did not see, we have a new regulation in 1 month, you know, September time, Regulation J, and basically what this does is opens up the restricted pool to include restricteds and mythicals, right? So, again, the previous restricteds are still in the restricted pool. You can only use 2 of the Pokemon from this list. So, Hoopa, Magearna, Pecharunt, Shaman Sky is a big one. Manaphy, Keldeo, Volcanion, Hoopa, you know, Arceus. That's a huge one. That will be a metagame changer for sure, because extreme like, it's pretty much going to, like, Dragonite was already decreasing, but because of, you know, the power levels, but Arceus is going to basically, because Dragonite was kind of known for obviously extreme speed, but also multi-scale, right? But now there's just a lot more versatile multi-scale users with higher power, and now the extreme speed roll is going to go to Arceus, so Dragonite might get completely outclassed, which is kind of crazy to say. But those are the two things that it was known for, right? And both of those are just outperformed. So yeah, it's going to be pretty insane. But for now, we're still playing Regulation I for one more month. Oh, that would be so bad if that was the case. That would be so bad. Because then you would have to... That's actually impossible because... Like, it can have any form. Like, there's one form per type, right? So... Yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad. I hope that's not the case. Because otherwise, like... That would pretty much warrant, like, a stall beta. Because then, like, people wouldn't... The safest, like, when people don't know how to... I mean, I'm not saying this to, you know, diminish anything, but when you don't know how to... Like, when players are confused on how to approach a metagame, they will usually go to stall options as a default. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I'm just saying this is a tendency. So, you know, if Arceus is that hard to deal with just because of that thing, then it will cause a lot of stall play. But yeah, we'll just see what happens. Yeah, we'll just see what happens with this. But that's kind of like a short stream, but I kind of just wanted to go over kind of the updates on everything. So yeah, I'll try and stream this weekend, kind of plan some more Regulation I with the team that I just, you know, have developed. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. So hope you all enjoyed that little stream. And yeah, I'll see you all soon.